Hey, welcome back to the FSH Dudes channel. Today, on this episode,
Now, courtesy of Speaker City,
we will be adding speakers
Speakers so loud they blow women's clothes off.
and a remote controller
Remote control helicopter!
to the swim platform on my 2021 210 FSH Sport. As everyone knows,
We like the cars that go boom.
and today I'm going to show you how to install these and use them on a separate zone from the rest of your speakers inside your boat. I am installing the Skar Audio SK65M Marine Series 6.5-inch speakers, as well as the Kicker KRC12 wired remote. Go ahead and smash that like button for me and get subscribed so you can get all the latest updates, tips, tricks, and installs. Let's get started. All right, so to get started with this project, what we're first going to do is go over some of the steps I took to get here. As you can see here, I do have it masked off and ready to be cut, but before we get to that point, I'm going to explain how I got to this process. So the first thing you want to do when you're doing this, depending on what boat you have, this is again the Yamaha 210 FSH Sport. I have dual motors, so I have an access here, but I also have exhaust on both sides of this engine bay back here. So what you want to do is, on this model and other twin engine models that have this type of swim platform, is pull up your hatch right here where your clean out ports are for your plugs, and then you're going to come in and remove your access panel. Once you remove your access panel, just get a flashlight in there, make sure nobody else has done any work, make sure that there's nothing in the way, and notice how far you're able to drill in so you're not drilling into an exhaust tube or an electrical harness. So I've already done this step, I've already gone in there and looked. I know that I'm clean and clear, but I need to make sure that I stay a couple of inches away from going in too deep, so I'm only going to penetrate about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch through the hole. After that, what I did is I took the insert that came with the Skars. It's just a piece of cardboard that lays on top, but the good thing about this is you have a straight edge here, and it's not metal, so you're not going to scratch your gel coat. What I did is I used this to use the edge here, the plane of it, and put it up against the hole, because as you go around you will see the gap in here, and that lets you know where you no longer have a flat space. So just get yourself a straight edge piece of cardboard of any type, lay it up against the surface horizontally and vertically. Make sure you have a flat surface to mount these speakers to so you get a good seal, and then put your speaker as far out as possible away from your electronic harnesses or your exhaust or anything like that. So that's what I've done here. I've marked my edge where the flat spot ends and where it starts to curve, so I know how far not to go. I pulled it in about 1/2 inch away from that to give me some room, and I got it laid flat. Now what I do first is I mask off the background with masking tape. Now when I mask off the background with this masking tape, what that does is when I'm drilling and I'm using this RotoZip, which it's a Dremel or a RotoZip. Today I'm using the RotoZip multi-purpose bits because the Dremel multi-purpose bits were out, but I also highly recommend the Dremel over the RotoZip. But when you use these bits on gel coat, it tends to chip and it'll pop off and break because gel coat is brittle and hard. When you put that tape down, as you're drilling, it keeps it from cracking and flaking off around the outer diameter of that cutout for you. So it saves you your gel coat repairs or anything like that, keeps you nice and safe. The next thing I did after I got my blue marked out is I measured, and I also eyeballed it, stepped back away, made sure it looked good, and found out exactly where I wanted the speaker ring to be. Now I've come down a little bit off the edge because you don't want to be up on this hard edge with your speaker when you're installing it. You don't want to be up too high. So I came a little bit off center down to compensate and stay away from that hard angle here. You also want to stay away from your hard angle at the bottom, so don't go too far down. And I've got those measurements, and that's where I worked out. You can use your measuring tape. This is only a 10-inch deck, so a ruler, whatever you want to use to take your measurements, or you can eyeball yourself. Just make sure you're as far out as possible and that you are semi-centered in this platform where it looks good to you. These rings come with the Skar Audios, so they come with the cutout rings. All you gotta do is peel out the inside section and you pop out these. This way you can pre-drill your holes to screw your speaker in, all right? And that way you can just cut this hole out right there without having to worry about if your hole is, you know, perfectly circular, or if you've cut the right size hole out and have to go back in and cut again. They already give you the dimensions to cut your speaker out. Take a pencil, you can draw on gel coat with a pencil, and then you can just wipe it right off so that you can make your marks and it doesn't hurt your gel coat. The lead is good for it, good to be able to be used with it. And last but not least, Skar Audio comes with these rubber gaskets, okay? So on one side you have the 3M adhesive, on the other side is the rubber gasket. The 3M adhesive goes to the backing of the speaker itself, and then the rubber gasket is what's going to seal your speaker to your hole so you don't get water inside of it. All right, now we've gone through, we've cut our hole. One of the things we did notice, I usually don't use RotoZip bits. I've never used them before. I've heard that they were the same type of bit as Dremel, but the Dremels worked much better. It took me 2 RotoZip bits to drill this one hole, when the Dremel bits last a single hole, single bit. So that is one thing I noticed. Those RotoZip bits do not work as well as the Dremel bits. Other than that, you can see here, there is no chipping on the gel coat because of that tape. You'll notice in the video that my buddy here that's working with me, Nick from the Griddle Food Network, he was spraying water while I was drilling. What that does is it keeps the drill bit cooler, and it also keeps the fiberglass dust from flying all around, getting in your lungs and stuff like that. So it serves 2 purposes. I always highly recommend it. I started off without it, thinking I was just going to make quick cuts. Found out the bit sucked and I needed to use the water, which I normally do anyways. That's why I try to say don't take shortcuts, even though I just did it and I learned my own hard way. So now we've got the hole cut. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to move to the other side, repeat the same process, and then we'll start wiring up these speakers. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Hey, welcome back. So now we've got our holes drilled. We've got our speakers set, measured. Everything's good to go. The hole is already cut. Everything fits nice and flush. Again, just to reiterate, those RotoZip bits make a huge difference. Go ahead and get the Dremels. Don't even waste your time or money on them. They were a pain and a struggle, so I do not recommend them. But now what we're moving on to is the Kicker KRC12 remote controller. So basically what's going to happen with this is when you're at the sandbars or in the back of the boat hanging out by the water, you're going to be able to control your radio without having to get back up there and mess with it or have your phone on you or any of those things. This is a waterproof unit, therefore it doesn't get wet. You can let the wash of the waves coming up when you slow down hit it. It's not going to bother it, just like the marine speakers. It's made for the marine environment. Again, this is the KRC12. This is for the kicker units for the KMC2, KMC3, KMC4, and KMC5, which is what I have. What I did now is I prepped again. Always use the masking tape so your gel coat don't chip. If you noticed earlier in the video, we did make a boo-boo with the other side. I forgot to drill the pilot holes for the screws with the masking tape on there. I began to say it was all right. Let me just give it a shot. I'll just drill them without the masking tape, and as soon as I started to drill, the gel coat chipped. So I went around and I did them all, but let my experiences help you. And these are all things I know, but when you start getting in the moment and you start to get rushed, you feel the need to just, oh, it's okay. And I've known this, and I still make the same mistakes that everybody else does. So just reiterating, if you do forget to drill the pilot holes, take the time, tape the edge back up, put your stencil back up, get your holes marked, and drill them with the masking tape like we did here. And you can see here when I pan in that none of these holes have any gel coat chipping because I used the masking tape on this side. So now we've got a pilot hole drilled here. We've checked behind here, made sure that this is going to fit. This is a 2-inch hole, so what I have is my 2-inch hole saw, and that's what I'm going to use. Don't need the Dremel here. Just going to drill your pilot hole, get your pilot bit started, drill right through with your hole saw, and then that'll just slide right in. Has a bracket that goes over the back, okay, slides up over here, and that's what holds the back of the wall, pulls it together. You've got some nuts and some washers to hold it all together. So that's what we're going to start with, and let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so now that we've cut holes all throughout our boat now to where it's going to sink. Let's go ahead and get this wiring done. You can see here we've got the 2-inch hole cut for the Kicker KRC12 remote controller and our two 6.5-inch holes for our Skar Audio 6.5-inch speakers. We're going to go ahead and get this wiring done, and then we'll come back to you and show you the finished product. All right, so now we've got our wire prepped. And what I did here, and this makes it a lot easier for everybody, is I took both speaker wires. So you got one here, I tied here on the hole. You have another one coming out here, which I tied here. And then, of course, the remote control wire I've also tied here. What that does, keeps it from being pulled through in case you accidentally pull too much. So what I did is I taped the heads up, made sure that the remote control cord, which has a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack style plug, is protected while running, so it's all taped up. And then about every 1.5 feet, I tape the wires together, so as I pull them through, they stay together in the group and they don't get tangled up on something on the way through. And that way I can run it all the way through the boat without having any issues. All these wires are running straight up through the center here, through the engine bay, through the fuel cell, under the center console, and into the back of the head unit. So that's what we're going to get started with now. All right, so now we've run our wires, we passed them through the underside of everything. We've come up in here just like we did in the other videos that I've had with the amplifier install and the LED underwater light install. Run all our wires up through the center of the center console, underneath the floorboards, and up into here. So now we have, from back there, you have your controller wire, and then you have your two speaker wires. So in the box with this Kicker head unit, you get this adapter, okay? So this adapter gives you what's called zone 2, to where you can actually control those speakers on the deck and have them playing at a different volume, or just those back there playing, so that you're not blowing people out with audio inside the boat while you're trying to hear outside of the boat. So it's able to be controlled separately and be able to wire these straight up to the head unit. Now, there's a Canon plug that comes with this right here, or sorry, a harness, and another harness that plugs in right here, and this is where I will be soldering the wires together and then using heat shrink to make my connections. So I've got my left and my right speakers. All you're going to do, match up pink to pink, brown to brown, and then clip it together and lock it in. So now you have that done. That's where your two sets of speakers are going to go to. And then this right here, it says remote on the wire, so you know it's your remote wire. It has a little plastic black cap on it. All you're going to do is pull that little cap out, plug this guy in. Simple as that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get to doing my actual wiring on the speakers, and then I will clean everything up with zip ties, finish the products, put them installed, and then I'll come back to you with an overall sound test and show you the finished product. All right, welcome back. We have finished the install for now. We do have to come back and do some heat shrink and stuff, but the day's getting late, and that's something we can wrap up later, add some more zip ties, but it's clean and clear right now, ready to be heat shrinked and then completely zip tied in. But everything's functioning and running, so I'm going to do the audio test with you and show you how it went and the wiring here. So what I got here is the wiring harness. It's still loose. I'm going to zip tie that up tighter later, but we are heat shrink butt connectors is what we used here, okay? And that's your two speakers on the rear swim platform, and then you have your remote control line there. I use electrical tape, that way it doesn't unsnap for some reason and I don't know about it. All I do is wrap the connector with electrical tape just like I do my RCAs. That way you know it's not just going to fall out for some if it gets snagged or something like that. But that, it runs down, it goes underneath, and now we're going to head back out there and show you the rear and do an audio test for you. All right, welcome back. We are all finished if you want to take a look right now. Speakers are in. Everything is beautiful, flush, clean. Worked out great. No issues, no running into any problems. Everything's free and clear behind it. No obstructions. And we are about to run an audio test right now for you. Now this is going to be coming straight from the mic on my lapel here. This audio is going to be unaltered and it's going to be just the way it sounds. Now Remember this, we are hooked up to the head unit at 4 ohms, which is only 25 watts RMS power. These speakers require much more power for optimum sound, but for the moment right now, I have them hooked up just to have a nice little audio down in the water while I'm at sandbars. In the future, I'll be adding an amplifier and tower speakers as well, and then I'll do a new sound test with it completely tuned with an amplifier as well. But here we go, so we're gonna play it now. And the controller works. I just come right over here and I am able to control the skipping of the songs. I can go to my next song and I can also just shut down the radio right from back here. And that's it all completely installed. Remember, this is the Kicker KRC12 remote controller and the Skar Audio SK65M Marine Series 6.5 inch full range speakers, hooked up with the Kicker KMC5 head unit and their own zone. So no audio was playing from the boat at all. My other amplified 6 speakers in the boat were not even on at all. This was all controlled back here while I'm sitting at the sandbar with my friends. I want to hear my audio and not have to drain my battery running an amplifier and all that, just chilling right here at the back of the boat. So thank you for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe. Make sure you hit any comments that you have, any questions you need answered. I'm always on top of those, and I always like to help out. Reach out in the community. You'll hear about me. And I will catch you on the next episode. FSH dude, out.